afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to the Sideline Perspective, episode 10. Um, yeah, it's been a while since I've been here, but I still been pushing out content when I can. It's just, oh man, work, life. It's hard being a content creator, especially when it's not your full-time job. You know what I mean? Like I've mentioned numerous times, I don't make money from this yet, but I still get up and make sure that I produce when I can. I got mad content that I just don't have edited, or it's just not ready to come out yet. So it's not like I don't have things. It's just the process of editing and putting things out. It's not always on the top of my priority list. But with that being said, the grind is back in full effect, and I mean that sincerely. We are at 100 subscribers. I don't take that for granted whatsoever. Yeah, it's just 100. It's not 1,000. It's not 10,000. It's not 100,000. It's not a million. But that is a grind. I've seen channels that have existed for 4 years, 5 years, 6 years. They haven't even eclipsed 70 subscribers. So what we've been able to do over here in the past essentially year, the Kevin Durant trade was my first video stepping in front of this camera, and 100 subscribers in that little bit of time with the ups and downs that I have had. Just imagine when I go full throttle, bro. I'm not saying that I'm full throttle right now, but the grind is in full effect for sure. You know what I mean? They need a little New Balance. Hey, they be having some clean, you know what I mean? Today's episode, though, I want to talk about playoff X factors. As you know, we are about 8 games away from the postseason. And things are spicy, bro. The Rockets are on a 10-game win streak. They are playing right now as we speak. The Utah Jazz, so that should be an easy win for them. Golden State Warriors, I'm not sure. I stopped watching their game. They were up 83-67 or something like that on Charlotte. So I just, figured they should handle that one. The Lakers were losing their game to Indiana. I want to say at least 13, 15 points. So I didn't really pay much attention to that. The Clippers and the Magic were having a very good game as well. Very neck and neck, so to speak, in that third quarter. And then the Thunder had a 10-point lead before I turned on this camera against the... Oh, man, I can't believe I'm blowing this right now. Just know the Thunder is up by 10. Phoenix, thank you NBA app. They just came in clutch. Literally, they just came in clutch. That's what's up. I got a notification. Thunder versus Phoenix. It is 70-59. OKC is up by 11. But like I said, playoff X factors in this episode. Very, very excited for the postseason. I'm gonna join into something real quick. We got a new little setup. I changed into the bigger office, the bigger room. Obviously for more room. That TV, and y'all can't see it, but there's another TV sitting on a stand over here. We locking in, man. I have a laptop in front of me. I have this phone, and a tablet. When I tell you, we locking in on that NBA playoff action, bro, there won't be a day where I won't be watching at least 7 games. Well, no, I ain't gonna say at least 7, at least 4. Because I ain't trying to run up the electric bill like that, but all the TVs definitely will be running. I have a phone that I use for notes, and then I now have another phone that I use for, watching games on the go. Like, last year during the playoffs, I was doing a lot of food runs for whatever reason during the games. So I would turn on the NBA app and the NBA app, and I would watch the games as in the car, listen to the games in the car, and yeah, that's my strategy. It worked well for me last year. Hoping that I do the same this year. That's enough rambling though. 5.5 minutes in. Playoff X Factors. Starting off with the Eastern Conference, I did this in order of seeding as of Wednesday. Yeah, I wrote this on Wednesday. Today is Friday that I'm recording this, and this will come out tomorrow on Saturday. So some of these stats are a bit skewed, but still pretty much the same. Not much game. They're not playing 2 to 3 games in a 3-night span. 3 games in a 3-night span. Anyways, starting off out east, top of the list, number 1 seed, the Boston Celtics. This one was kind of hard because this is a very, very well put together team, especially when you consider the top 5. People always say 6 when they throw in Al Horford. I don't consider Al Horford a threat. I'm going to just keep it real with you, bro. Still respect to his game. I'll be getting down, but he's not a threat to me to just really throw him in there like that. So, yeah, their top 5, their starting 5 is their, that's obviously that's going to be their most deadliest, lineup. And it was hard for me to really try to decide what would be the X factor for the Boston Celtics, but ultimately had to go with Kristaps Porzingis. He's missed a total of 22 games out of the 72 that they had played at that time. Mostly sporadic, not really, long stretches of games missed. A game or two here or there. But, what he's been able to add to the Celtics this year, a championship caliber team that we know has been on numerous conference finals runs. Just last year, they were in Game 7 in the conference finals. Could have been in the finals had Jason Tatum not tweaked his ankle in the first 30 seconds. Who knows? The year before that, they were literally in the finals against the Golden State Warriors. Took them to 6. Was it? I'm pretty sure it was 6. And yeah, they were missing a layer of dynamic defense and a versatile offensive weapon as well. When you consider what Kristaps brings to the table at his position. They didn't have that. They had Al Horford at best, and then on the defensive side, they had Robert Williams on the back end. Robert Williams is a solid defender, but he's 6'9". Kristaps is a legit 7'3" and 7'2", and that causes a lot of problems. Just, hands up. He don't even have to really swat for the ball. His hands up, you got to try to get your ball. You got to try to get the shot over his arms, over his hands. And he's one of the, premier rim protectors in the league right now when you consider total blocks. I want to say he is top 8 in that regard. I have it in here somewhere. We'll get to it. But like I said, he's 7'2". He can comfortably shoot the ball from 25 to 28 feet. He's shooting 37% on 5 attempts a game this year, and he can shoot over pretty much any defender in the league, unless you put, probably Victor Wembanyama on him. But as a third option, he is averaging just over 20 points a game on the fewest shots attempts that he's had since his rookie year. That is impressive, considering the situation he just came out of in Washington, where he was looked at to be the 1 and 2 option, and he was putting up similar numbers, but on, worse efficiency, more shot attempts. He's playing comfortably in the role that he fits perfectly to a T on this roster alongside Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Like I just mentioned, his offensive versatility is something that they missed in that finals against the Golden State Warriors, in that conference finals run last year against the Miami Heat. They missed something of what Kristaps can bring. So that is my X factor for the Boston Celtics, man. All around, he's having his best shooting year with a 51.4 field goal percentage. His paint defense has been incredible. Like I mentioned, he's a premier rim defender in the league right now. He's top 12 in block shots with just 90 total for the season, but he's missed about a third of the year. So those numbers are a bit skewed, you know what I mean? He's averaging 1.8 a game, so he's a legit defender at the rim. I don't know what much more I have to say. Other than the last time that we did see Kristaps in the playoffs, it wasn't that pretty, honestly. He only averaged 13 points a game on with 5 rebounds on 47% from the field, 29% from deep, in 7 games that he suited up for, and he recorded a total of 19 personal fouls. Being a third option as opposed to a second option on this kind of team, on a postseason run, I firmly believe that he can put up the same kind of production and be a serviceable, not only on the offensive end but defensively as well. That's where they really going to need Kristaps to shine, and I would love to see first round matchup against Miami, but it's still up in the air. Philly, Chicago, Atlanta, who knows if they'll get there. The Brooklyn Nets technically still have a chance, but they're not making it. So it just all depends on how this last week plays out, or this last 7 to 8 games play out. But yeah, I'm really hoping that Kristaps, or not hoping, I'm firmly believing that he will have that same kind of production carrying over to the postseason. Next up, Milwaukee Bucks. This one was pretty simple for me. Could have went one or two ways. I could have went with Dame, being consistent, because as we know, he's had the slump to start this year. It's been an up and down year, really. But he has a legit reason for his woes this year. He's going through a divorce. He doesn't really see his boys as much as he used to see them. So that takes a toll on you as a father that is present in your family's life. So I excuse that 100%, and he's still performing at an all-star level. He was an all-star starter. Granted, you could argue it wasn't deserved. I even said Donovan Mitchell deserved that nod over him, but he would have been an all-star regardless. I went with Doc Rivers, man. Since taking over this team late January, early February, Doc Rivers, like I said, I wrote this a few days ago, so it could be different now. I don't remember if Milwaukee played in the last couple of days. Above 500 record of 14-12 as the head coach of the Milwaukee Bucks. They began 3-7, and then they rattled off 6 straight wins and then proceeded to win 5 of their next 9 games. Throughout history as a coach, Doc doesn't have a pretty solid track record in the playoffs. Numerous 3-1 leads blown. We know that for a fact. Was that the bubble? Was he coaching in the bubble? No, that wasn't him in the bubble. Regardless, though, numerous 3-1 leads blown. Excuse me. He's also been known as a coach that is not the best at making in-game adjustments, and that really will hurt you in the playoffs. That's when it matters the most, and that is why he has blown so many leads, the most ever by a coach. I bring both these things to light to say that with a team that's led by Dame and Giannis, Doc has more than one way that he can game plan and try to scheme against these defenses on a nightly basis. Not even on a nightly basis, like I said, you got to make these adjustments in game sometime. Dame and Giannis are so dominant and dynamic that Giannis can go off for 40 just being his bullish self, getting to the rim, attacking. You've seen how they've defended him in the postseason before, building that wall. Y'all built that wall. Damian Lillard is right there for the kickout. Damian Lillard getting hot from 3. Giannis in that dunker spot. Giannis on the roll. This is a team that is built for the playoffs because of the two-headed monster that they do have in Giannis and Damian Lillard. Not to mention Chris Middleton is getting back to looking like his old self. Brook Lopez, his defense is going to really be the key factor for him come playoff time, not really his offense. Bobby Portis is the biggest wild card if you ask me. off their bench. He can give you 30 and 10. He can give you 25 and 12. That is a recipe for a championship caliber team. It all comes down to coaching. Because when you think about it, if they have to play the Miami Heat, who could be the 7th seed, they're 2 right now. The Miami Heat could sneak in at 7 through the play-in. Excuse me. He's not going to outcoach Eric Spoelstra. That is a fact. Doc Rivers will not outcoach Eric Spoelstra. He will play chess with him all night while he's playing checkers. Doc Rivers, on a game-to-game basis, if he wins game 1, his game plan will not change for game 2. His game plan will not change for game 3. Because he feels like he found something in that first game that can help him win, so he's going to stick with that. Eric Spoelstra, even if he wins a game, he's looking for another way to beat you because he wants to throw you off. He wants to throw in something that'll make you really look at film of like, okay, so they did this game 1, they did this game 2. They might do what they did in game 1 and game 3, but they could bring what they did in game 2 and game 3, but they might bring what they were going to do in game 5 to game 3. That's the kind of coach that Eric Spoelstra is. Doc Rivers doesn't think like that. Even going against Mike Budenholzer. Where is he coaching now? I said Budenholzer. I meant Nick Nurse. Nick Nurse. If they got to take on Philly, you're not going to outcoach Nick Nurse. But at the same time, Nick Nurse is also known not to make those changes in game. So that could be a checkers match as well. But at the same time, I feel like he's not going to outcoach Nick Nurse, but they're not going to lose to Philly. Come on now. But when you talk about Miami, there's a legit chance that the coaching is that big of a factor in the outcome of that series, because Eric Spoelstra will just run circles around him. So Doc Rivers, X factor for the Milwaukee Bucks. Cleveland Cavaliers. We've been hurt all year. There hasn't been a time that I, look at the injury report and there's not a guy that's game time decision for the Cavs. So I went with health. That is their biggest X factor. Jared Allen, the healthiest of the bunch. 5 games missed. Only Darius Garland, as we know, the broken jaw. 27 missed games. Karis LeVert missed 12, so he, just a game here and there probably. Donovan Mitchell, which was surprising, will not make an All-NBA team because he has missed 23 games, maybe even 24. Evan Mobley, the most on this list with 32 games missed. Isaac Okoro, 11 games missed. And Max Strus, 12 missed games. That's a total of 122 missed games by their 7 biggest rotational pieces, most notably 23 plus from their big 3 in Mobley, Garland, and Donovan Mitchell. Somehow, some way though, they have been able to stay afloat. They went 20-1, I want to say, for a stretch in late December, early January. Somehow, some way. But in a 7-game series, you don't want that to happen. You don't want to be banking on the role player stepping up when a guy goes down. They have been doing it all year, for sure. And I'm not saying that they can't. But it's much more elevated when you talk about getting to that playoff intensity. So staying healthy for the Cavs, obviously you cannot control that. That nobody wants to just get hurt or be hurt and miss games. But they got to be healthy. They're very, very lethal when you consider what Donovan Mitchell can do on the offensive end. Jared Allen and Evan Mobley guarding the paint down low. Darius Garland is their wild card on the offensive end because you don't know what you're getting from him. Is he going to give you a passing clinic, or is he going to actually come out and try to score 30 points? So, and then Max Strus. They're probably bigger wild cards than Darius Garland, but just for him to be an all-star caliber player and you don't know what you're going to get from him on a night-to-night basis, that's why I gave that label to him. But then you got Max Strus, Dean Wade, Karis LeVert can give you a 20-piece. So I don't know, man. Just praying for the best for them. They're at full health right now. I want to say Donovan Mitchell did return tonight. But yeah, like I said, they're a lethal team. They do have a chance that they could make a conference finals push, given the right, circumstances and, like I said, health. Same thing applies to this next team on the list, and that, of course, is the New York Knicks. Just completely depleted, bro. I don't know what's going on with these East Coast teams with injuries, and missed Boston somehow. Not wishing injury on anybody, but I'm just saying, like, it missed Boston, it missed Milwaukee. Miami has been they're always banged up, but New York Knicks. Randall, 25 missed games. OG, 21 missed games. Brunson, just the 5 missed games. I want to say he had a shoulder issue or it was like a knee issue or something like that. I don't remember which one it was. Mitchell Robinson was supposed to be out for the entire season, but by miracle, he returned with 10 games left, but he missed 50 games this year. Miles McBride, 19 missed games. Most of those probably due to DNP. And then Shake Milton, he only checked in and played 3 games. This is a guy that I thought would come over and make a big difference for them off of their bench, alongside of Bogdanovich and Alec Burks. But he hasn't played very much. Thibs is very strict with his lineups. Once he finds something that he likes, he doesn't really like to change that up. But like I said, this is another case where injury and just lack of playing, will really determine how well you can get going into the playoffs. If Randall can't get back into rhythm, before the playoff starts, you just throw him into the fire. That's going to be kind of tough for them. But they do have a superstar in the making in Jalen Brunson. Yes, I said a superstar in the making in Jalen Brunson because that's what he is. Especially come playoff time, we see what he can do. I just don't know what it's going to look like without Julius Randle. OG is still questionable. It's, like I said, a blessing that Mitchell Robinson was able to return before the end of the season and even be available for the playoffs, because it was expected that he would even miss the playoffs when the injury was first reported. But yeah, if he can get back in the rhythm, they can have a defensive anchor down low. They really need it. They can play Hartenstein less, although he has been playing very solid for them. I could have went with DiVincenzo's scoring ability or Mitchell Robinson's defense as their X factor, but health, that's the biggest thing for them, honestly. I don't know. Like I said, I wrote this a few days ago, so the rankings could be changed now. But Orlando, 3-point shooting, they are quite literally one of the worst teams in the league. 28th ranked, well below league average at 32.7%. All of these players that I have listed have played at least 10 minutes a game and have played 30 games on a year. Markelle Fultz, 9% from deep. Goga Badatse, 15.4% from deep. Franz Wagner, 29% from deep. Chuma Okeke or Okiki, I'm sorry, I don't know how that's pronounced. I heard it in multiple ways. 29.1%. Cole Anthony, 32.1%. And Mo Wagner, 32.7%. These 3 guys I'm not to name, have not averaged the 10 minutes or played 30 games, but their percentages still factor into the team total. Admiral Schofield at a 30.8, Trevelyan Queen at 17.6, and Jet Howard at 27.8. These guys cannot shoot the damn ball from deep whatsoever, and it's bad. That's really going to hurt them in the playoffs. They are very, very well at scoring in the paint. They're, I want to say, top 5 in that regard. They have a 3rd-ranked defense though, so that's keeping them, afloat. For the most part, is their defense. They hold their opponents to a scoring average of just a 108.8, but a 26 offensive rating offsets that greatly. They score 110.8 on average, so they're winning a game by 1 possession, basically 2 points a night on an average. But somehow they're still a 5 seed. They're better than a team that was in the NBA Finals last year. They're better than the team that has the MVP, although he is injured. I mean, the reigning MVP, although he did get hurt, they've been doing their due diligence. But that 3-point shooting is really gonna hurt them, bro. They could drop down to 8, maybe even 9. Worst case scenario by the end of the year, but they've been playing very solid. Like I said, they were going head to head with the Clippers, who haven't looked good, but it's the Clippers. Maybe I guess, maybe. But yeah, that 3-point shooting is definitely something that they are going to have to figure something out. Obviously, you can't just, become a 40% shooter overnight, but, Jamal Mosley is going to have to game plan around that for sure. Moving on to Indiana, if their defense, they're still top of the league as far as offensive efficiency goes. They're number 1, but dead last on the defensive end. Nearly dead last. 123.3 rating on offense, but defensively they're at 120.9. So, like I said, basically a 1 possession game for Orlando. Essentially what Indiana, that's how they're pulling off a lot of their games, is trying to run up the score, see if they can score more than their opponents. And it's been working a lot, kind of, for a majority of this season. They're a 6th seed. Definitely going to be a postseason team for sure. But it is quite concerning, a 7-game series when teams can really lock in on you, especially they're most dangerous in a fast break. It's not something that they want to, hang their hats on too much anymore. They got to try to figure something out as far as getting stops go. They have very, very, how do you call it? They have a lot of vulnerabilities because they are so young. A majority of these guys have not been in the playoffs. Obviously, Pascal has won a championship, so he's been there, done that. But that's one guy, and he hasn't looked stellar since he's got over there. And they don't really run the offense through him, so that's not going to be a thing. They do, however, have a solid coaching staff, and Coach Rick Carlisle, Lloyd Pierce, and their experience in the postseason can kind of offset that inexperience for their players. So we'll see how that goes, but they definitely got to scheme and plot and pray that they can get some stops on the defensive end if they make it into the postseason. Maybe they fall into the play-in and they lose. Knock on wood. I'm not, wishing that on anybody. Don't come for me, Indiana fans. But, yeah, just speaking. Moving on to the Miami Heat. My X Factor went with Terry Rozier. He doesn't play with the same kind of, I don't want to say intensity, but it's not the same, and it's not going to be the same. You're playing with Jimmy Butler, arguably a Hall of Famer. Bam Adebayo is a budding superstar. Jaime Jaquez, Tyler Hero's on the court. So there's other guys that got to get their shots. But the thing that stood out to me while looking through the team and trying to determine what their X factor was, and I landed on him because not only the scoring aspect, but the fact that he's shooting 38 of 128 from 3 since joining the Heat in late January. That is a 29.6% shooting percentage from deep while averaging 15.4%. He deserves to be a starter in this league for sure based off his track record. Who you going to start over him? Jaime Jaquez. You don't really... you could. Jaime does his thing. But they're kind of more... I guess you want... I don't know. But prior to leaving Charlotte, there was like... You knew that, Terry Rozier was a bucket. He still is. But you're going to need that from him. You're going to need those buckets from him in the offseason, bro. This season alone, he has had 6 30-point performances and was on pace to average 22 to 24 points per game. But that was next to, like I said, far less talent over in Charlotte. No disrespect to anybody over there. But it just is what it is. They're out of playoff contention. They don't even have 20 wins on the season yet. So I'm not saying nothing that nobody doesn't know. But yeah, like I said, there's a lot of mouths to feed. There's a lot of guys that got to get their shots over there in Miami. But the drop off in scoring it's expected. But the shooting splits are what surprised me. If they can somehow convince him though, and this is just hear me out, because I want to say he started every game since he's been in Miami. If they can convince him to come off the bench and be that scoring punch, that 20 point per game scorer, run with the second unit, shot creator. He is a very solid ball. About to say ball mover. He's a very solid playmaker when he has the ball in his hands as a lead guard. So I just feel like they could really make some noise if they make that move. I don't think they would upset Boston. I'm not saying that. I mean, they match up against them very well. They really, really do. They have more depth than Boston. Boston is just a different beast this year, but they could, like I mentioned earlier, upset the Milwaukee Bucks if they want to keep playing around. If Doc Rivers want to keep playing around. And like I said for Dame, he has an excuse. Doc has an excuse too. He took over the team halfway through the season, but he was a consultant for the head coach Adrian Griffin, so he knew what was going on, the ins and outs in the team. So I'm not even going to keep going into that. Terry Rozier, he could be like a Max Strus, a Gabe Vincent, Caleb Martin, who gave you 15 to 20 off the bench on random nights for stretches at a time. They really saved the Miami Heat in that postseason. That can be what Terry Rozier can do for them. Jaime Jaquez as well. That can be another guy for them that can pull something out of a hat in a 7-game series and make an upset happen. I'm going to try to get through these a little bit more faster. The video's getting a little bit long. Philadelphia 76ers. Joel Embiid's return. The only thing that they really need. I'm not even going to go deep into this one. They really just need Joel Embiid back. This is a team that was poised to make a run. Joel Embiid was on pace to win back-to-back MVPs. They were a dominating team with the duo of Maxey and Joel Embiid. But without Joel Embiid's presence, Maxey is kind of falling off a little bit, but he's still being Tyrese Maxey to his best of capabilities. But without Joel Embiid, they have no chance in this postseason. I don't see them winning a play-in game unless it's against Atlanta. I don't even they just don't have a chance. And if they do somehow make it into the postseason, they're getting swept. Sorry, Philly fans. Sorry to anybody, any players. I'm not trying to offend y'all. It just is what it is. Joel Embiid is that good. Y'all not even winning a game without him, and it is what it is. Moving on. Western Conference. Denver Nuggets. It's a known fact that when Jokic is off of the court, and this is for any team, any superstar, a player of, high caliber. When they're off the court, the team looks different. But for the Denver Nuggets for a while, it looked drastically different without Jokic on the court. When he's been on the court this season, he is a plus 22.3, which means this is the team's points scored per 100 possessions minus the team's points allowed per 100 possessions. So that's a plus 22 against opponents. When he's off the floor, that number plummets by a 17.7, a whopping negative 4.6 when he isn't playing on the court, which is better than it's been the past 2 seasons prior. But I don't even know. I don't watch Denver basketball like that, but from the playoff run that they had last year, the finals run that they had last year, I saw a lot of that. And I don't know if it's because they can key in on Jamal Murray, and yeah, Jamal can boogie for sure, bro. He can boogie. He can get down. But he's easier to guard than Jokic because he's so unpredictable. Is he going to shoot? Is he looking this way but passing it to a wide open man right there? Is he going to bully down low and get to the easy basket? Jokic is that lethal. Jamal Murray is a dog, for sure. But even when you have shooters out there in KCP, Michael Porter Jr., we'll live with giving up a little bit of defense because we can overpower y'all on the offensive end because Jokic is also a big body down there. You kind of don't want to go up against Jokic down low in the paint. And their 5 would be Aaron Gordon. They don't really, he has great defense, but more so on the perimeter. He's not really a solid paint defender as far as, protecting the rim goes. So you can get a little bit off, and that I think is where they struggle. But like I said, in that playoff run last year, you saw a lot of that. They did a much better job in the playoffs than they did in the regular season, and that they have done this season. So success could potentially be replicated, but it's definitely harder a path to take this season. Not as many teams are banged up. Not to mention there's more competition in the conference. So it's just, it is what it is. They have to find a way to maintain continuity and their composure when Jokic is not on the court, and those minutes have to be the most important minutes of the game. They just have to be. When he's not on the floor, Mike Malone's only concern should be winning those minutes, regardless if it's by 1 point or if it's by 5 points. You have weapons, not only on offense but on defense, to get it done like they did last year, like they've been at the top of the Western Conference this entire season. That can be replicated. They just have to get it done without Jokic. That's it. Moving on to my Thunder, man. OKC. This is another team, young team, that also struggles. Surprisingly enough, it's not even that. We don't even struggle, bro. We're the 19th ranked three-point shooter team in the league at 34.8, and that you would think that since we have so many guys, I want 7 to be exact, shooting well above 40%, that number will be way higher. But dudes like Mike Muscala shooting 14%, Giddey is averaging 34%. Some dudes shooting below 25%, below 30%, that barely play in Uzman Jang. Poku and Micic, they don't even play for our team anymore, but they still count towards our team. They shot below 25%, so that drops it a lot. So it's not really three-point shooting. What I really want to, it's the rebounding, bro. It's going to be the rebounding. We have one guy that's above 6'10", I think. I think Jalen Williams is 6'9". Muscala might be about 6'10", 6'11", but at the same time, he's not crashing glass and really controlling the boards like that. So rebounding is going to be our most important factor. I wrote this for three-point shooting, and it just hit me that one don't even really. It is what it is. I'm sorry, I bluffed the Thunder one, and I'm not even gonna lie. I think we good. Oh, we good. Championship, baby. Yeah. Nah, I'm just talking. Yeah, I messed that one up. It should have been rebounding. So I don't have stats or nothing like that. Minnesota Timberwolves moving right along. Like I said, for the I'm tired. Like I said, for the Philadelphia 76ers, they're going to need Joel Embiid. They're going to need Karl Anthony Towns for their success is contingent on the return and the production of Karl Anthony Towns. His presence alongside Ant-Man, it can't be replicated by a single player on this team. A 7-footer that can stretch the floor as well as he can. I want to say he's 50, 40, 90 for the year. His defense is also very solid. It's just overshadowed by Rudy Gobert. It's overshadowed by Jaden McDaniels. But I think Cat is a very solid defender. I'm not saying he's upper echelon, but I give him a solid B. Um, we know that he can get off on the offensive end. 22 points, 8.4 rebounds, 3 assists on, like I said, 50, 42, almost 90, 87 splits for a 7-foot front court player in his ninth season after battling that season-ending injury last year. That's beyond impressive in my opinion. So getting him back would be that's vital. It's very, very vital for the Minnesota Timberwolves and their success heading into the postseason. It has been playing out of his mind. Rudy Gobert, yeah, we've seen in the past where he's got played off the court. I don't see that happening this year. Just because they do have switchability with Naz Reid, Jaden McDaniels as well. These are lengthy guards. They didn't have Jaden McDaniels in the last postseason because he broke his hand literally the last game. So this is going to be a different looking team in the postseason for Minnesota for sure. Los Angeles Clippers, and if I'm rushing through these, it's because it's 10 o'clock at night and it's a long. I don't think y'all like these hour-long podcasts. I'll be writing too much, man. I'll be writing out a lot, and sometimes I just get to rambling. My bad. But we at 41 and a half minutes. 5-6 teams left. Let's knock them out. Clippers, James Harden and Russell Westbrook. They have everything. This team has everything. Aside from a legit scoring threat from the big position, they have everything. 4 Hall of Famers, championships, All-Stars, MVPs. What they're going to need and what they're freaking praying for is that James Harden does not collapse. That is probably the biggest X factor is James Harden does not collapse. I tied in Russell Westbrook in this because he had just was returning from injury, and Clippers were not looking good without him. They were 6-6 in that 12 games that he missed, and they had just barely beat the Sixers the other night by 1 point. Some late game heroics. Kelly Oubre turned the ball over. Tyrese Maxey turned the ball over a couple times. Kelly Oubre made a bonehead play, didn't pass it to the wide open Tobias Harris in the corner. Wanted to take the last shot. Got fouled, I guess, but the ball, I don't know. They won the game by 1. And I just felt like Russell Westbrook's intensity and his leadership was really missing. His intensity and his leadership is really missing during that stretch, and then you really felt it. I want to say on Podcast P, he even mentioned how it was just something off during this past stretch of games where they have been losing. And I attest that to Russell Westbrook not being there. I'm not going to say all of it, but he's definitely a guy that will hold his teammates accountable regardless of who you are. Kawhi, Paul George, James Harden, I'm going to hold you accountable because I expect you to do the same for me. And I'm going to hold myself accountable as well. Russell Westbrook is the most accountable superstar that I can think of right now. So, yeah, that's what it's going to take for them. That's their X factor. They actually matched up a couple nights prior to the game against the Sixers. They lost by 14. That was without Russ. In this game where they had Russ, they won by 1. They also suffered a loss to the Hawks without Russell Westbrook. And the game that he returned to play, they lost to Indiana. So they just really need a kind of, a wake-up call before it's too late and they can't flip that switch and they get bounced in the first round. Definitely don't want to see that because then it's going to be time to break this team up. I'm sorry. 5 years in the making and y'all ain't made it past the conference finals. It's time. Moving on though, New Orleans Pelicans. Similar to the points I made earlier about the Timberwolves, the points I made earlier about Sixers, Brandon Ingram. I don't know how long he's out. He may be returning soon. But if they don't have Brandon Ingram, it's going to be a tough road for the Pelicans, bro. They do have a lot of depth. Trey Murphy III has been looking really good since he returned from injury. Herb Jones' defense. He can kind of stretch the floor a bit. Zion is a different beast. He's finally broken out of that shell and returned back to all-star level Zion. You know, CJ, consummate, steady veteran. Big Val, Larry Nance. You know, they got Najee Marshall. But damn, Brandon. Damn, Brandon. He is the guy that, other than Zion, gets them going on the offensive end. The shots that he can create for himself. He's a sneaky triple-double threat. Sometimes when he wants to pass the ball, or not when he wants to pass the ball, but Zion, you know, they run point Zion, they run point BI, they run point CJ. So a lot of guys are controlling the ball at all times throughout the game for them. But Brandon Ingram is a guy that can go and get you a couple triple-doubles just off of the strength of his gravity getting to the rim. Now he's getting a kick out. He's trying to get into the mid-range and boogie. He's drawing the double. Now he got it down, a pass down to the big for an easy bucket. They need what he brings to the table. The different layers of dynamic offense that he could add will really make the biggest difference for the Pelicans come playoffs. X Factor. Dallas Mavericks, they're role players, man. It's their role players. Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic, we know who they are. We know what they can do. They're going to go out there and do it. They're going to go and get busy. They are proven playoff performers. Kyrie Irving, possibly the biggest shot in NBA playoff history. Game 7, 89-89. Step back, side step, fading 3 over Stephen Curry, 92-89 with just under 2 minutes to go, or maybe even a minute and a half. I don't remember the time, but I remember the score. I remember the motion of the shot. Right wing, Kyrie Irving, lethal, nothing but nets. He does this. Luka Doncic, we've seen him in the playoffs for the past few years give the Clippers hell. We saw him a couple years ago give the Phoenix Suns hell by himself. You add Kyrie Irving to the mix, that's just a dangerous bomb waiting to explode. You know what I mean? Ah, man. No disrespect. I shouldn't even said that. We going, to our brothers and sisters, but we ain't even going to get into that, but yeah. The role players. That's definitely going to be the biggest key for them. The lack of talent that, they do have. Not really lack of talent, but it doesn't compare to Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. Obviously, you got a rookie in Derek Lively. Daniel Gafford has been bounced around to a couple teams now, but it's been very, very solid. One of the most efficient players in NBA history. Look it up. THJ, Josh Green, PJ Washington, Dante Exum, Jaden Hardy could even fill that 7 to 8 man rotation come playoffs. These are all guys that are capable of hooping, bro. And I am very curious to see first of all, where they end up in seeding, because that will determine how I view their success moving forward, if they can even proceed through the first round. But whoever they got to play, whoever has to see the Mavericks, y'all really got to see the Mavericks. Like, it's not just going to be no cakewalk. Y'all got to see the Mavericks. So if the role players like THJ can give you a consistent 18, 3 threes at least a game, Daniel Gafford killing the boards per usual, PJ Washington find his shot again, Derek Lively keep being a lob threat, they can get something done. They can make an upset. They can do something that not a lot of people believe that they could do coming into the beginning of the season, bro. I think that's all my notes for them. Moving on, Sacramento Kings. This one, I went with the coach, Mike Brown, but not for negative reasons, like I did Doc Rivers. Mike Brown, I think, is the X factor for the Sacramento Kings, because he's just another one of those coaches, bro. one of those coaches that when his back is against the wall, he can pull off the impossible, the seemingly impossible, and get it done. We saw what he was able to do, albeit the higher seed last year against Golden State, being the 3 seed, and they couldn't get it done. They took that team to 7 games. The defending champions, they took them to 7 games. There was never a time in that series where you felt like Golden State had control. And they really showed how they can hold their own against these championship caliber teams. It just wasn't their year. This year, they have teams in the mix that were in the play-in. They have teams in the mix that weren't even in the postseason, like Dallas. So, yeah, things could definitely get interesting. That's why they are so low on this list, because other teams got better and they didn't. The conference around them got better and they didn't. But they're still a very, very, very solid team. 6th Man of the Year winner. I'm calling it now. Malik Monk. Firecracker off the bench. He could have even been their X Factor, but that's a little too obvious. I wanted to make some of these not the obvious answer, and that's why I went with Mike Brown. If you know, you know, bro. If you know, you know. Mike Brown's that dude. Phoenix Suns. Let's get through these last 3 teams and wrap this up. Bradley Beal. Suns have a record of 27-17 when Beal has suited up, and 16-13 when he has not. Both of those sample sizes show that they could be a 500 team with or without Bradley Beal, but the one shows that they are a team that you don't really want to take lightly. So, I want to say that Bradley Beal is very important to what the Phoenix Suns are trying to accomplish. Am I right? They do have pretty bad losses to the San Antonio Spurs. They lost 3 of their 4 matchups against the Spurs this year. Don't know how the hell you lose a season series to the Spurs, especially considering 2 of them came in the first week of the year. Back-to-back losses to the Spurs. That's neither here nor there, though. My point is, when Beal is playing and when he's healthy, there's never a time when there isn't or shouldn't be an all-star caliber player on the floor for the Phoenix Suns. You got Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Hall of Famer, and Bradley Beal, who led the league in scoring twice just a few years ago. So we know what he's capable of. It's just been a bad, injury-riddled season for him. But, like I said, you got Hall of Famer Kevin Durant, and then his counterpart in Devin Booker. That duo is unguardable. So either one of them on the floor, and then you add Bradley Beal into that equation. That's what they need. That's what they were missing last year. Like I said, injury-riddled season for him. Consistent back issues, and back pain is no joke. I can attest to that. He's still going out there and giving you 18, 5, and 4 on a respectable 50, 37, 80 splits, bro. He is the biggest X factor for the Suns, and I think that will make the biggest difference for them. Los Angeles Lakers. D'Angelo Russell. If you have been here since last year, you know my previous beef with D'Angelo Russell. I've also mentioned numerous times how much I am a fan of D'Angelo Russell, and that's why I'm so hard on him. You know, the forced shots, the bad shots, the stupid passes, the flailing, the flopping, the complaining, all postseason. I hated it. But I will say, I haven't seen a lot of that this year. I've watched quite a bit of Lakers games. Haven't seen a lot of that, especially since All-Star break. The man has been locked in. He's been locked in, bro. He's averaging 21 points, 6 assists, 4 rebounds on 45, 44, 86 splits, all of which have increased in that 16, 17 game sample size. He had really 2 impressive outings against one of the top teams out east of the Milwaukee Bucks. One where he scored 44 and hit the game-winning bucket. The other where he played 50 minutes. He played 50 minutes in a double overtime game, and they won that game. I want to say he had 26 points in that game. I'm not sure. Other notable wins came against OKC, where he scored 20. This is the 26. He had 4 steals. He had 5 threes. A not as impressive solo performance for D'Angelo Russell against the Timberwolves, but a victory nonetheless by 4 points. And they also beat the Clippers. So his production has been very much valuable. The Heat just beat the Blazers 142-82. That 70 points? 60. That's 60. Okay, staying on course. D'Angelo Russell, if he can maintain that play or even elevate that come playoff time. They also have Austin Reeves and Rui Hachimura who can give you 15 points a night. They can make another conference finals run, bro. They can. They got the talent. They got LeBron James. Anything is possible. They just have the dumbest coach. Pocket ham. Hate him. Oh, man. I was almost had a breakdown, bro. Woo. Thought I lost all my footage, man. 55 minutes of rambling would have just been lost. Y'all would have never seen it. My phone died, so I don't remember where I left off, but I'm pretty sure I was talking about D'Angelo Russell. So let's move on to the Golden State Warriors and then the Houston Rockets. We added them in there because they have a chance of making it. Draymond Green for the Warriors, man, and it shouldn't even be a question of why I'm having him as the guy, as the X factor. He's not responsible for giving you 20 a night. He's not even expected to shoot well from deep, hit 3 to 4 threes a night. But what is expected of Draymond is availability. The past week it's been quite a bit of a charade. As we know, earlier this season, he got that suspension for choking out Gobert, and then another suspension for basically punching Nurkic in the face. That's a total of 12 games, and then you throw another 13 games on top of that. It's a total of 25 games missed for Draymond. Same thing, different day for him. Cost him the championship in 2016, suspended. Cavs get momentum, come back down 3-1. The league mandated he go through therapy, essentially an anger management course, and to get to the root of problems that he's been causing. And for a while it looked like it did something, but soon enough he was just right back to the same old Draymond. Like I said, the last 7 to 8 days he had crossed those boundaries of physicality in the game, which made you really question why he's on the floor. What are you there for if you're just gonna be out here causing these problems, getting ejected, making Stephen Curry cry? What are you doing? They signed you to that extension in the offseason just for you to come back and continue to do the same thing. It's tiring. And like I said, I love the way that Draymond's mind works on the basketball court. I really, really do. When you consider, when you take out the antics. But watching the Warriors struggle because of this guy's antics and him not being available, it's going to cost him. It's going to cost him, and it has cost him. Last team, and we'll get out of here, man. Houston Rockets. Woo! Hottest team in the league right now. I don't know if they're on a 10-game win streak as I'm recording this. They may or may not lose their game tonight, which would take them to 11. Jalen Green is their X factor. I also have to add in Alperen Sengun's return. He has not played in the last 10 or 11 games since they have been on fire. And a lot of people would have said that their season was over. They chalked it up as a loss, including myself. The Lakers have positioned themselves as that 9 seed pretty comfortably. The Warriors look pretty comfortable at that 10 seed, so we're like, hey, it's locked up. Lo and behold, Rockets caught fire in a bottle, and Jalen Brunson, 53 points, career high. Let's get it, JB. Let's get the Spurs. Still 53 points. But yeah, 10 of the last 12 games have been won. 12 of the last 13 on a 10-game win streak. And, you know, the ascension of Jalen Green over the month of March has just been ridiculous, bro. Like I said, 12-1 in that time, and that's essentially thanks to Jalen Green. He's performing otherworldly, averaging 28.5 points, 33.7 assists, 6.1 rebounds on 50, 43, 80 splits. And in his last 7 games, his splats are even more ridiculous. 33.7 points, 3.7 assists. So that didn't change. He's still passing the ball the same. 7.5 rebounds on 53, 49, 84 splits. Imagine them fully healthy with Cam Whitmore and Şengün, and Amin coming to himself as a player. Jabari being a consistent, solid player out there on the court offensively and defensively. Fred being that leader in the locker room, and then Jalen Green doing what he's doing. If he can carry that into the play-in and then into the postseason, they definitely don't have a chance to make a run. I'm not saying that, but you know, I had to give an X factor for every team, and those are my X factors for each and every team that has a chance to make the play-in or the playoffs. Thank you for tuning in. I am tired. We are definitely locking in. Just give me time. I promise y'all. Just stay with your boy. As y'all can see, I'm essentially dozing off right now. I need to go to bed because I need to get up at 4:30 in the morning for work. I'm out of here. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Like I said, episode 10 is out the way. I'll catch y'all.